She ranks among the top 5% in her area and 1% in her brokerage. She's done roughly 96 units, $32 million of closings. She focuses on first and second time homebuyers and master plan communities. This is the Agent Goldmine, where you'll find real talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what the killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it. All tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy. Welcome back to another amazing episode of The Agent Goldmine, where Shelby and I are interviewing the Caitlyn Blosser today. She is an agent out of Jacksonville area, St. John's, Florida, and she focuses on first and second time homebuyers and master plan communities. So this is right up my alley. She has been an agent for 6 years. 2 of those years were in Georgia, and then the other 4 have been in Florida, again, Jacksonville. She ranks among the top 5% in her area and 1% in her brokerage, which is Momentum. She's done roughly 96 units, $32 million of closings. And in the last year alone, 2023, she's at 23 units, over 11 million in volume as a solo agent, focusing on utilizing her background, which is teaching, so teaching her clients, educating them, using companies to do pop buys, which I really want to get into, and focusing on client appreciation events. Dude, you're killing it. Your passion shows. We all met, at Real Estate Rockstars. You are a rock star, Caitlyn. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Caitlyn, I don't know what master plan communities are. Can you tell what is that?
Yes. So I live in St. John's, which is, I would say, like a suburb of Jacksonville. We're very much a commuter city. Everyone goes to Jacksonville to work or goes south. And so we're kind of out. We're not in the middle of nowhere because we're next to the beach, but we just have a ton of neighborhoods. And I feel like our neighborhoods are pretty badass. So master plan, we have a lot of CDD fees because our neighborhoods are going to have the lazy rivers, the water parks, pickleball, events out the wazoo, golf courses. So the master plan communities, it's pretty much, you don't have to leave your neighborhood. There's K through 8 schools, high schools, things like that. So love where you live.
Okay. And so how do you specialize in becoming an agent for those communities?
So Nocatee is a big popular neighborhood in St. Johns County alone. I think 80% of people who moved there within the last 2 years all were from out of state. And Nocatee alone is kind of its own, like they have grocery stores, restaurants, again, water parks, dog parks, schools, all of that. And so they have their own Nocatee certification. So you can become a Nocatee certified agent for that one. And then as far as the other neighborhoods go, it's really just being involved in those communities, hitting up their amenity centers, knowing the fees that are involved, because CDD fees are not the norm across Florida or I think anywhere. So knowing what those fees are, because obviously if you're going to have a lazy river and water slides and zip lines and things like that, it comes with a price that people need to be aware of. It's really just getting your boots on the ground and exploring these neighborhoods.
Okay, cool. That totally makes sense. Yeah, I just jumped right in there. Let's take it back a little bit and talk about getting into real estate. You've been an agent for 6 years. Yes. What did you do before real estate?
All right. So before real estate, I was a teacher. So I taught for 4 years, and I pretty much knew coming out of college that it wasn't for me, but I was like $14,000 in debt from getting my master's and was just like, I got to make it work. And like the statistic is, I think 80% of teachers leave within the first 5 years. And I was like, I'm not going to be a statistic. But then quickly I was like, this isn't fun. I make $1,200 every 2 weeks. I argue with 8-year-olds. By the time I was done, I did the robotics club. I was a safety patrol sponsor. I was curriculum mapping for the grades around me. Our county went to performance-based pay and I was highly effective, but then I was making $12 more paycheck. So it was just like, I knew this sounds so bad because education is the core, I think, of our economy, but I was like, I am better than this. I want to go and work off and get paid for it. So when we moved to Georgia, I was like, I'm going to go into HR. Let me take what I know about teaching and put it into corporate. I know I'm a great teacher. So I will just teach adults. And everyone was like, but you have a degree in teaching. And I was like, I know. So I can teach your people. And they're like, but you've only have your background is in a school. And I'm like, but I could apply XYZ. I know how to read data. I can do this and that. So then I was finally like, you know what? Let's try real estate. I just need to take a test and the rest is history.
Yeah. And then you jumped right into killing it as an agent. Okay. I want to jump right into these newsletters because I don't do any. My newsletter footprint is trash. How did you get started? And what is your tempo on the newsletters? And what do they say?
So we built the house we're currently in, and it's a smaller community, but I was like, I want to have a touch on it. And the way I run my business, as you'll hear as we continue talking, is I try to be the receiver of whatever I'm giving. So like when I check my mail at the mailbox, I stand at the trash can and decide what I keep and what I toss. So postcards, I was like, that is not for me because every postcard I get goes straight into the trash. No matter what it is, whether it's a dentist, a coupon, it goes in the trash. So I was like, okay, I want to farm my neighborhood because I live here, but I want it to be of value. So again, just being in a commuter community where there's a ton of kids, like we're the #1 school district in the state of Florida, I am going to make it worth value. So one side, I just do community events within that month. So I just go on Facebook and I look up events that are coming up over the next month. I try to vary a lot of kids stuff, some like tequila festivals, just things that I think will be of interest. And then anything that we're organizing within the neighborhood, I put at the bottom. And then on the very bottom is like my information. And then I've partnered with other neighbors who's a lender, an insurance agent, and a financial advisor. And then on the other side of the newsletter, that's the information. That's where I'm like providing value. And all 4 of us all submit like an article, so to speak. So I always focus on what's happening in the economy, what's happening in the market. Has there been any solds in our neighborhood? Like how much equity are people? Because our neighborhood finished in 2019. So people are selling for 300 grand more than they bought for. So just like making that aware. And then each person has their own. So the way I look at it is if that interests you, you have that side. But if you don't care, you have something to go stick on your fridge of events coming up in the community with my name still on the bottom. And the idea is every month, hopefully because it hits the financial advisor, it hits the insurance, which Florida insurance is kind of a mess right now. So there's pieces that the husband might like, the kids might like of something to come up, the wife might like. I try to do back to school information so that it goes on their fridge. So hopefully it's just like a constant walk by.
And just so listeners, just so you know, this is Caitlyn's golden nugget. So if you go to theagentgoldmine.com, you can get this golden nugget for free. And it's beautiful. It is laid out in Canva as a template that you can duplicate and save into your own files. And it also it's just a lot of beautiful guidance. But Caitlyn, my question for the newsletter is this hard copy? Are you emailing this?
So I've only done, again, I try to look at how I view things and like my inbox, like I delete. Like I have so much going on in my inbox that I delete. So let's put it on the fridge. Because if I tell you about an event in 24 days and it's in your email, you're not going to go back to that email, right? So I hard copy the financial, and this is where it's like great to partner as a realtor. Like none of us like to spend money. So the financial advisor, he prints them for us. And then the lender, her sons fold them and put them on the envelopes. And we all switch off each month who pays for postage, because postage is really the most expensive piece. But if we're all splitting it at the end of the year, it's not that much money because we're 140 homes. So it's about 60 something dollars if you pay that month for the postage, and then envelopes and everything is cheap on Amazon.
I would be like, get those boys to put them in every, door. Is that something you guys could have considered?
We switched to that, but I hate my door. Like it will sit there for 2 weeks because I go in my garage. But we have talked about, do we get rid of that and switch to that? And maybe that's something we'll explore this upcoming year to cut that cost. But at the end of the day, I still view it as it's still so cheap in the grand scheme of things.
It totally is. Okay, so I can't remember if Allie got the answer yet for the cadence. How frequently is it, this monthly, or how often are you doing the newsletter?
Thank you for listening. Out of respect for your time, we want to make this show as valuable as possible for you. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve, please let us know. DM us at Allie the Agent and The Shelby Show.
So it is monthly. I try to work on it like the last week and then we get it out either by the first of the month or the last.
Do you legitimately like the partners? There's like four of you on the page, and I'm like, damn, I love the idea in theory, but then it's, do I even four people in this entire world? I don't know.
So the way I know the newsletters work is so I started with just me and the lender because I do a lot of work with the lender. We're neighbors, we're friends. And she kind of took off when everyone was refinancing in the neighborhood. And so we started just the two of us. And then insurance, I kind of roped him in because he is my insurance guy. And again, insurance in Florida right now is wild and people's rates are like quadrupling overnight. So I was like, that's an added piece that you can't, like, it's hard to find information, right? So let him be your guy. And then within the first 3 months, that's when Ron reached out and was like, hey, I work for Edward Jones. I want to be a part of this. So I was like, well, what can you do for me? And then that's when he was like, I'll print it. And I was like, great, you're on.
Sold.
Okay, so when people reach out, do they say, "Hey, Caitlyn, I've been seeing you on the newsletter," or how do you narrow down, whether somebody reaches out to either you or your partners that it came from the newsletter?
So pretty much if it comes from the neighborhood, I know it's the newsletter. Like 9 times out of 10, I know it's the newsletter. Or people will say, hey, I got your newsletter. Or if I see people walking, they'll be like, oh my gosh, I love it. So it's really just the affirmations of it. But it's
Yeah.
almost always mentioned if it gets brought up. So I will say with not only do we do the newsletter, but then we host 2 events throughout the year. We do an Easter event and then a Halloween event. And so that's another thing where it's like we're trying to merge, like, hey, when you see us out here doing the Easter egg hunt, you found out about it because of the newsletter, and this is us putting this on. So again, just trying to make the connections across
Yeah.
the board. So like it's not the HOA doing this, it's us, your neighbors.
That makes sense. Also on your newsletter so you mentioned things to do. How are you researching the things to do? And you are also sometimes creating the things to do with the client events. Where are you finding the other things to do? Because I feel like that's probably my biggest hurdle of newsletters. I'm like, I don't do anything. I stay in my house. So I would have to pay somebody to even find out what the is going on outside of my house.
So I usually go to Facebook and I just look up events near me and then you can narrow it down by date. So I'll do the whole next month and then I'll just scroll through. And if there's ever a slow month, then I go to like mom blogs, like Jacksonville Moms, like their blog, and they'll have like kid friendly events coming up. So I tried to narrow it down to where I can knock this out within 2 hours and kind of make it quick and go rather than when I first started, I was like, oh, is that a good event? I don't know. Let me search here. Let me search here.
How long ago did you start the newsletter? And if I were starting one today, just duplicating, using your copy, what is the timeline in which I can expect to really actually feel those results?
So I would say within the first 2 months, we got a lot of feedback on it of just people being like, oh, I love it because it was new and it was fresh. And then I think it just continually builds. Like I said, we are a newer community. So the turnover here isn't huge, but the whole goal is to build those relationships that when people are ready to sell. So if you're in a neighborhood that has massive turnover, and there are people who are like, why would you farm your neighborhood? You're a small neighborhood and I don't know the metrics, but they say farm the neighborhoods that have this amount of turnover. But I was like, but if I'm not going to farm it, I don't want another person to farm it. Someone's got to sell houses in here when it's time to go, right? Like, why can't that be me?
Well, I think that. And then I also think about if you do a really great job farming in a way that feels like people feel like they know you and they feel like you're their friend, it just really what it does is broadens your sphere of influence because now when their friends and their family are moving, they're gonna be like, oh, I know this real estate agent and she's awesome. Here's her contact information. So it's more of to me, I'm like, it's an extension of your reach.
Yeah. And I will say I've actually gotten more referrals from neighbors than actual neighbors. I'll have neighbors that are like, oh my gosh, I have to use this person, but I have a friend and I'm going to connect you to.
Do you have a Facebook group? Do you own the Facebook group of this community?
We do have a Facebook group and I am an admin and I do a lot of events there, but I'm not on there every Monday. Here's a market update. Which if you look at my social media across the board, that's not who I am like as a person in general. So I try to bring that. I just feel like there's safe spaces, if that makes sense, which maybe I'm missing a market, but I don't like to be sold. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I think honestly, the best people out there who are really crushing it are established in a certain niche that's usually not even real estate related. Like I was just talking to this girl yesterday who like kills it on TikTok, and the natural instinct for like new agents will be like, "Oh, well, I'm sure she's talking about real estate." When in reality, it's she's just talking about like her city and sports teams there, and because of that, because of having Realtor like for you on the top of your newsletter, like it shows that you're a real estate agent. You're talking about all these things that are not applicable, and then they go to your social media pages and see that you are a real human with a personality and they like you, and those two are connected more than if you were just like buy from me.
Right. And that's even with my social media. There were times when I tried to just make it so real estate. And then I felt like my viewership was growing down. And again, I try to always reflect back on who I am. And because I want to work with people like me, right? At the end of the day. And so I'm sure you guys have the people that you follow that are always talking about the same thing. And then you get to the point where when their face pops up, you just like slide over completely because you're like, I know they're going to talk about this today, which yes makes them an expert in that. But it's right now I'm training for the Gate River Run, which is a 15K. I'm on week 2, but the amount of interaction I've gotten about this 15K from people that I haven't talked to in so long is huge. And so to me, I'm doing it because I need to do something like physically, and I'm trying to raise money for a good cause and all of that. But it's bringing people to my page that haven't, and then I'm going to talk about real estate next. You know what I mean? Or like when I post about sourdough, I engage with people about sourdough, but if they're engaging with me about sourdough, then they're going to see real estate next. Or if I was just talking about real estate, they probably wouldn't have engaged with me.
Right, right. And then you're just training them to like see your stuff. Oh, I know it's going to be about real estate, and then leave. I want to talk further about the client events. So you mentioned you have one on Easter and Halloween. Do you partner with the same partners that are on the newsletter, or are they different? How much is your budget?
So I have my neighborhood events and then I have client appreciation events. And I use the same lender for both because she is one of my preferred lenders anyways. So for the neighborhood, she lives in the neighborhood. So for the Easter egg, the first year we tried to cover the cost completely ourselves. And then the eggs were gone within 2 seconds. So then the second year we were like, hey, we're going to purchase some eggs, but if you want to donate some, we'd love it. And it was wild the amount of eggs that got dropped off at our doorstep. So as far as the Easter egg event, I cover the cost of the Easter bunny, which is $150. We always get a food truck and a coffee cart, which they're free. You just have to reach out and then people pay when they want the food. And then the lender buys like crafts off like Amazon or Oriental Trading, like things to do like before and after the Easter egg hunt while people are getting photos with the Easter bunny. So my out-of-pocket cost, aside from time to set up the event, is $150.
Who pays for the photographer?
So it's another neighbor that does it for free because then she gets their information to then be like, hey, book with me
What a
because you
beautiful
like what I'm doing.
community thing. No, I think that's really smart. Allie's really good at that. I have never been good at that in asking people to partner and to share costs and to share responsibility. I've always been like, I'll do it. I'll do it for everyone. And then I just die or spend a ton of money. So very smart. For this, so you mentioned client and neighborhood. This is the neighborhood.
This is the neighborhood. And then the Halloween, we do like a paint your own pumpkin, but it's literally bring your own pumpkin, like it's BYOP. And then we provide the paint and the paint brushes, set up tables. The lender does the crafts. We do a food truck and that's it. And again, like we're buying the paint. So I think this year is $20, maybe.
And the photographer for that one too.
So that one, we don't do a photographer. Like people take photos on their phones and things like that. But like the Easter bunny, because kids are getting individual photos with the Easter bunny, then we do.
Yeah. The reason why I ask is just because I think the photographer is such a great opportunity overall. I love that you do it with the Easter bunny because it's such a good social media play as well. When you control the photos, yeah, and then you share them, you tag everyone shares it, and then they go and they figure out who the poster was, and it was Caitlyn, and she's in real estate. Oh my God, wow, amazing.
Yes. And that's my client appreciation events. One of them that I do is back to school photos. And that was a huge hit, like probably the best turnout I've ever had because who doesn't want photos of their kids? And again, like my demographic market is a lot of people like me, people with young kids. And so even though like I had a lot of kids that were like 2 and 3 that came because like we don't get first day of school photos and they're adorable. So
Yeah. No, so smart. Also playing on the kids whenever you can. I don't have kids, but if I did, I would definitely play them for everything, you know. How are you capturing? You're doing all these great events and you're doing the newsletters. And of course, the newsletters have your contact information on it. But for the client appreciation, I guess they're already clients of yours, already in your CRM. And the neighborhood events, are you doing any sort of sign in to get the contact information for the CRM and for the follow up, or what does that look like? Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us, we'll reshare that.
No, because like I said, I already have it I could do, like, I know I could do better at our Easter event, getting neighbor email addresses and things like that. But again, sometimes I feel like people are so spammed. And then it's, okay, I already sent you a newsletter. So if I get your email address, what am I going to do with that? And that is one of my goals for 2024 is to get something more automated, drip wise, that's like a monthly update, touch point, something of that if I have all these email addresses for people who either just bought or people in my neighborhood that right now don't plan on selling, something to send out.
So with your 23 closings in 2023, how many of those came from either like the newsletter, the client events, the appreciation?
So like right now, looking at my spreadsheet, 1, 2, 3, 11 of the 23 were all referrals, like from past clients or neighbors.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then I had 2 repeat customers, and then the rest were Sphere and 1 open house. I got 1 person from an open house because I don't do a lot of them.
Wow. So 50% of your business is coming from very minimal cost newsletter events, $250 for an event, so what, times 2 events for that bucket, $500 a year plus a little bit more. Do you know how much your budget is?
No.
I mean, your ROI is crazy on that. So it's really,
like farming my neighborhood, I'm for sure under $1,000. Like I'm probably under 600 between all the postage and between the 2 events. My client appreciation events. So this year, like talking about like clients and pop buys that I talked about in like the intro. So I do my 2 client appreciation events. I do the back to school photos, and then I do the standard pie party, which I know so many realtors roll their eyes at, but who else is giving you a pie? Like we roll our eyes at it because we see other people in the industry doing it and we think it's boring, but who else is offering you a pie? You know what I mean?
Okay, I legit don't know about the pie party.
Oh.
Allie, do you know about a pie party? I'm like,
well, not pie parties, but yeah, the realtors like dropping off pies. But yeah, again, it's only because it's what we see and we follow other real estate agents. So it's doing it again, but the clients don't see that. So
the clients don't see that. So Shelby, the weekend before Thanksgiving, I host a pie party. And this is another thing that I think people don't realize when they host events. I host everything out of my house. My back to school photos and my pie parties have always been out of my house, which some people say, oh, that's like your territory, or like my house isn't big enough. Well, like I've been in every single one of my clients' houses, right? I've seen all their houses. Don't they deserve to see my house? And it's not like I live in a mansion or anything like that, but I think it again just sets like a realness to me of you've invited me into your home, right? And I will stop by and do things like that, but come into my home, welcome you into my home, and then I give them a pie. And I always do a 3-hour window, just do a big charcuterie spread over my island. People come, mingle. Some people come get their pie and run. Some people stay for 2 hours, hang out. It's just like a mingling right before the holidays.
How are you inviting people to your, and in this, you said this is client appreciation. So that's your back to school and your pie party. Is this just like a CRM blast? Like, how are you inviting people?
So I use Sign Up Genius, which I just use the free version. It's not the prettier one, but again, like I don't want to spend $100 a year to make it look prettier. So I use Sign Up Genius. You can upload, like I upload my CRM into there, and then they can sign up. So for the pie party, you're signing up for whether you want a pumpkin pie, a pecan pie, or an apple pie. And then the back to school photos, you're signing up for a slot. Again, the back to school photos, I think I also did a 3-hour window. And then there was like 15-minute increments for you to come and take photos. And again, it was like, if you don't have photos till 10 a.m., you can still come at 9 and get breakfast. And that one I did more of like a brunch spread. So a lot of people came, did their photos, and then ate and hung out and played with my kids and did all of that.
I like this so much because a lot of times realtors will go out, they will deliver. And then by delivering it, which is a great method, but by delivering, you catch people at a wrong time. You might not catch them. which, pros and cons, because you can also then deliver to a neighbor, be like, hey, this is for my client, which is your neighbor. And they're like, my realtor isn't doing this. But this, you're having people come to you, all at once. I love it. I love this so much.
Yeah. And then people talk. And even if people don't come, the holidays are a stressful time, right? So even if you don't come and get a pie, it's still a touch point I made with you. Like I invited you over. Even if you couldn't make it, it started a conversation of, oh, darn, I can't make it. How are things going? Things like that. And that's what I always tell like the agents at my office is do the event. Even if you have 4 people show up, you have a window. They don't know they were the only ones there. Like it's less pies you have to buy. Like just start it. And then it's every year my attendance grows because I think they're like, oh, that's what it is. Cause then they see it on social media and then it just builds.
Okay. I feel like I want to be like a little more like in the weeds so I know exactly how you're inviting people. Cause I got Sign Up Genius. I have it pulled up. It looks really cool. Are you texting? Are you emailing? You don't like to email people.
So I email
You
and
are
I
emailing.
text, and you can text the same link. Like I send it out as an email to everyone. I text it as a link. As we come up, I'm like, hey, you're a week away. Hey, like I'm shopping for pies tomorrow. Make sure you RSVP. I do phone calls, but I think we can all agree we're all in that generation that we all kind of hate phone calls. That's like my last resort. Because again, realistically, like before I was a realtor, if you called my phone, I never answered. Like I do not want to talk on the phone. Now I have to for work. So again, I run my business as like, how do I want to be treated? And I do have the older clients that I do have to call, and I do call them. And I do enjoy those conversations, but 9 times out of 10, my clients don't want the phone call and respond perfectly fine to the email and the text.
Right. Right. How many on average, I guess, like per quarter or maybe per month, how many events, whether big or small, are you having in person?
So I do those two events, which like are August and November. My goal this year is to do another one early spring, February, March. I've looked into the renting a movie theater. Do I do another one at my house? That's kind of again on my goal board or my board for 2024 is to figure out what do I want to do early spring to get another event in. But monthly I do Lolo, which I don't know if you guys have heard of Lolo.
Is it like the gift thing?
So Lolo is a gift thing. So Lolo partners up with local businesses and then sends your clients a coupon. And I want to say it's like $1.30 for each person I send. I send a gift to. And I switched from your like typical, I'm trying to pull up this month's, from your typical Popeyes. Because again, I hate tchotchkes. If you drop tchotchkes off at my front door, like if you're a lender with a koozie, I have enough koozies. Like it's
What's
probably
a
going
tchotchke?
in
Tchotchkes
tchotchkes.
is junk? Is that just junk?
Yes. Like,
I know nothing.
Yeah. Maybe it's like Southern. I don't know. But tchotchkes are like the dollar. Hey, it's Christmas time, so I'm going to drop off like cookie cutters at your front door. Or hey, it's 4th of July, so I'm going to drop off sparklers at your front door. You know
Okay,
how like
so
Popeyes are.
you don't like that, or you do?
Personally, I do not like them. So then I was like, why am I making this part of my business? Right? If someone puts a garden gnome on my front step, like I'm probably gonna trash it because like
Into the trash.
right. So then I'm like, so why would I spend money on little tchotchkes to then take the time to drive around to each of my past clients' house, which is time is money, to go drop off something that like. So I switched over to Lolo instead, and I use Lolo as my monthly contact. And so yeah, it's $1.30 a contact, and there's there's 5 regions in our area. So I pre-select my clients when I upload them into Lolo. Do they live on like the Southside Mandarin zone, St. Augustine Beach zone, Ponte Vedra Nocatee zone, downtown Jacksonville zone, Jax Beach zone? In each zone, they get a gift from a local business. So like this one, if you live in Mandarin, you're getting a sandwich at Gastronome. If you live in St. Augustine Beach, you're getting a beverage at Wines at Fort Alley. And so they just go and they like pull up the email and scan it and they get it. Like you get donuts at Good Dough in San Marco, and it's free to them.
Yeah, it's free to them. And isn't it like besides the $1.30 a contact for you, it's not like you're paying for their sandwich. It's like the business is partnering as a way to advertise and bring new people into their businesses.
Apple listeners, this short pause is to ask you for a review. Here's how to do it. back out of the specific episode, go to the page where you see all the episodes, scroll down, keep scrolling. Perfect. Now tap those 5 stars. Thank you so much. Back to the show.
Correct. And so I get charged regardless, but I'll have people that like open it 6 times and never actually go. But it's if they open it 6 times, they saw my face every time. You know what I mean? And I send it to myself. And then it's another social media I use. It looks like I'm partnering up with these local businesses, even though it's Lolo partnering them up. And then I use it as a way on social media to be like, hey, I partnered up with Good Joe this month. Stop by and you get 3 free donuts. And then I'll post it. So like today, actually, I got a text that says, Caitlyn Blosser sent you a gift at Good Joe. And then when you open it, like, there I am. And then it says, well, I sent it to my husband. It says, Jordan, Good Joe's caters, and then tells you about the business. And then what you get, enjoy your choice of any 2 donuts or a single donut served with a drip coffee. And they have 2 months to use it.
Yeah, I think it's genius. And actually, Allie, I don't know if you remember, but these guys pitched us at Tom Ferry Summit when we were walking around to the different booths. And I was like, because when you walk around at conferences to the vendors, you're like always unimpressed. At least I am. I'm like, don't make eye contact. I don't care what you're selling. I don't want it. But this was the one where I was like, this is actually a really idea. And he set me up on one, and I still get like free gifts to Charlotte, North Carolina. I live in Lexington now. But I think this is genius. And Caitlyn, so I've really been interested in HomeBot AI recently for the same type of reason, because it's like something of value that people actually want that's automated, that's not you following up. But I like this better for the fact that it's like we talked about before, it's not real estate shoving down people's throats. This is like a really fun, cool gift. Who wouldn't want free donuts from, you know what I mean? Like what?
And I mean, there are some like good ones on there that have come through. 2 months ago, if you lived at the beach, you got a free car wash. And again, it's more social media content I can put out. If I go to Good Joe, I can make a reel about this local donut shop. And so it's just more content. And then I get free donuts, which I mean, I technically paid for, but you know what I mean?
Right.
I just see it as multiple. I'm sorry, what?
How many are you putting like everyone you meet on there? Because I'm thinking of, or like how many clients do you have on this?
So I have all my past clients. So I have about, let me see. So I have 63 people on there because some of my numbers are from Georgia. And then sometimes I'll see if they never open it after a year, I'll go back in and I'll just delete them, right? Because it's not for everyone. But to me, for $1 a person, like why wouldn't I? Like $12 a year, right? To be in their inbox because they send an email and a text. So to me, it's worth it. And I'm not driving around like trying to figure out. Because back when I did the little tchotchke pop buys, I'd be like, okay, let me go to the dollar store. And I'd be like, oh, I bought like this spatula with this cookie mix. And then now I need a bag to put it in. And then it ends up being like $4 or $5 a gift. And then I have to drive around, which if that's your thing, run with it. And that's how I run my business is like, who am I and what do I like? And that's what I'm going to push out. And it's consistent. It goes out on its own. Like it's consistent. It does it monthly.
What other cool tech? Because you just hit us with 2 cool tech things in a row. You gave us Sign Up Genius and you gave us Lolo. So what other cool little hacks, tech tools, systems, whatever, what do you got?
So Follow Up Boss used to be my life back when we haven't touched on my life in Georgia, but my life in Georgia was all internet leads because I knew no one. It was like Zillow, Google pay-per-click, Facebook ads when they first started out. Like it was speed to the lead, call, 10 days of pain, blow them up. So Follow Up Boss was my Bible. And then once I moved back and focused only on my sphere, then that's when I kind of went away from that type of CRM and now just use like Excel spreadsheets and things like that. So I need to get better at that. I don't know. I need to find a way to mix the two. Because like to me, Follow Up Boss is like harassing people. Like when was the last time I contacted you? And when do you need another one?
That's so interesting. Okay. As we head toward the end of the show, what else do you want to cover that we haven't yet covered?
So I think it's just being authentic. Like I think when you get into real estate, there's so many things thrown at you. Like you should door knock, you should call for sale by owners, you should do expireds. And I think that's how people get burned out. There's people at my office who love for sale by owners and love door knocking. But like anytime I've tried to door knock, I drove around for longer than I door knocked trying to work myself up to door knock. And then I hope no one answered their door. And I was like, okay, if this is what that's not for me, right? That is not for me. And then I was like, I'm not like, if that's not my thing, then let me figure out what is my thing. And then talking on like reels, like Allie and Shelby, you guys are doing great at it right now. I over panicked over what I was wearing, what I looked like. They're going to know if I mass recorded, I'm only going to wear a black shirt. I'm always going to wear my hair straight. And then I was like, screw it. And now I only talk on stories looking like a dumpster fire after dropping my kids off at daycare because it's gone in 24 hours and no one can go back. But I get so much interaction because it's real. Like it is real.
Dude, I like that. And then plus, that's what your neighbors are seeing anyway, as Caitlyn Blosser just walks out in the neighborhood. Yeah. So overall, it's just being like genuine, authentic you. Yeah.
Right. And that's my thing to the world is to new agents, be authentic. It takes some time. If you look at my numbers, I crushed it in Georgia because I was doing a completely different model. And then when I moved back to Florida, I was pregnant. We're about to be in a pandemic, which I didn't know about. But I was like, I cannot speed to lead calls with a crying baby. Like I was like, I can't do it. The amount of anxiety I had over knowing I was going to have to answer my phone at any point freaked me out. And so I was like, I have to change my business model. And then that's when I went straight to let me love on my sphere. Let me join as many groups as I can. I'm in a bunco. I'm in 2 book clubs. Let me get out in front of people and harvest relationships there. Don't throw real estate down their throat, but let it know you're a realtor and let them respect you as a person and make the decision to use you being your authentic self. And then it will work out. If you look at my numbers, I always averaged about 5 million the last 3 years, which I had 2 kids under 2. This year, I feel like everything I've done over the last 3 years, I've gone from like 4.2 million, 5 million, 5.2 million to now this year at 11.2. Like it was all those little things. Like you heard earlier, like it's the referrals, it's the repeat clients, it's referrals from past clients. Just like loving on your sphere and your database and showing them your authentic self will bring the business. It's slower than paying for leads, but it's more authentic. I'm not running around opening the door for someone who called and saw something on the internet and wants in that door now, even though they have an agent that's out of town. So it's slower, but it pays off, I promise.
And it's stronger. It's slower, but it's way stronger as opposed to, I think, Zillow leads. And the best of all is it's $1.30 per contact per month, or maybe $250 per quarter to get you 11 million in volume at the end of the year. Yes, no brainer. That's awesome.
Right. And I think there's this misconception with real estate of you have to work these 15-hour days. You constantly have to be busy doing things, but it's fluff. Figure out what works for you and focus on that. And I know we're running out of time, but new construction is huge in my area and it's such free content. If the world likes HGTV, they're going to like new construction. So throw that content out there. Like when I was pregnant, and then when I had Landon and was pregnant with Lawson, I just picked up that baby carrier and did new construction because no one knew, but they saw beautiful homes, saw me in it, and there we went.
Yes. Okay. Headed to the wrap-up questions. Whether in your personal life or your business, what is your favorite app or tool?
So I would for sure say Lolo. Like I really think I love Lolo because I love the treat. I love supporting local businesses. I love the free content it provides. So I truly love using Lolo.
What events are you going to in the next 12 months?
So for sure, Real Estate Rockstars. I'm so excited to see you guys.
That's right. Same.
Yeah. And then I do want to do one more, which I talked to Allie about this over Instagram. Megan Peel picks out where we go and I follow. So
yeah. I love it.
Right. Because she brought me to Real Estate Rockstars and like I never would have gone. And I'm like weekend away from my kids and I learn stuff and I meet people and let's go.
We should all hang out at Tom Ferry Summit too. That's a really, really good one.
Tell Megan Tom Ferry.
Demi really wants to go to a Tom Ferry. So maybe we'll do that. Which one are you guys going to? Is that the one in Vegas?
Summit. Summit is in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what month?
All the cool kids are doing it.
August-ish. Yeah.
August?
Tom Ferry has a lot of like breakouts, like 1 and 2 day like workshops, but those 1s and 2s are all mentioned plus more at Summit. Summit's the biggest one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look into it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. How can we help you in your business?
Follow me. I love all your spreadsheets that you guys talk about all the time. Listening to you guys. And I do need to work on that because like I said, I went away from Follow Up Boss and I need to get back on, but overall, I mean, just keep doing y'all. I love watching you guys. And I think it's so motivating. And I love that you interview real realtors. I don't think I answered your question, but keep doing that because that's what helps me listening to other agents. Because like I said, I go everything through me, what I like that. And so it's like when you have some guests on that I'm like, that's not my style. And then you have some that I'm like, yep, I can implement that tomorrow and let's go. So keep interviewing people because that'll help me.
Okay, we will. And we do have spreadsheets and checklists and all of that stuff for days. So just hit us up on the gram like normal and we'll send you all the things. Okay, Caitlyn, where can people find you?
People can find me. It's so unoriginal and I should probably change it to involve more real estate, but my Instagram is just at Kate Bloss. So like CaitBloss. And then Facebook, I'm just Caitlyn Blosser.
Perfect. Everyone go follow her, show her all the love. In case you missed it, maybe you're driving, all of our information will be in the show notes. Also, make sure to go to theagentgoldmine.com and get the freaking tool for your newsletter that you don't want to start from scratch and you just want to rip off and duplicate. So definitely do that. And listeners, you probably know, just in case, we are Allie, the agent, and the Shelby Show on the gram. Hit us with feedback. We want to know how we can improve and who you want to be interviewed on the show. And that is all we have for today. Caitlyn, thank you so much for coming on the show. And listeners, this is for you. Be a bro and share this show.
Thank you.
Okay, we're pausing for 1 second. I'm marking the clip. Are you connected to your mic that you have? Because I can see you have a fancy mic.
Yeah, it says USB condenser microphone. Does it need to be closer?
I think so. Let's try it.
How close do I need to go?
As close as possible.
Is this good?
What do you think, Allie? Allie, are you there?
She's out of my image. Do you see her, Shelby? And okay. What was my question?
Thanks so much for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep all our resources for you. Till next time.